Hey everybody, it's Paul Murphy here from the Premiere Pro, and today I wanted to talk to you about a quick and easy way to switch between subtitles in Premiere Pro. This is a unique workflow that I use whenever I have a sequence that has to be translated into multiple languages. But before I get into it, I just wanted to tell you I'm very excited. I do have a book coming out in October. It's called The Cool Stuff in Premiere Pro, and this is something that I've co-authored with Yala Leipold, Dylan Osborne, and Andy Edwards. And these are three of the most knowledgeable Premiere gurus I've ever come across in my life, and it was an absolute honor working with them on this book. And this is not a book for people who are wanting to learn Premiere for the first time. This is the sort of in-depth, advanced tips and tricks to really speed up your workflow and get the most out of your Premiere Pro. It is available in ebook and softcover as well, and if you want to find out more about this book, just go to apress.com. But that's The Cool Stuff in Premiere Pro, well worth checking out. Let's jump back into Premiere Pro now and have a look at this file that I have here. So I've got my edit here, and then what I've done is I've stacked all of my subtitles on top of each other. And if I just zoom in here, you can see I've got French, German, Norwegian, Russian, and Japanese. And these subtitles are all just stacked on top of each other so that we're seeing them all at once. Now, one way to be able to switch between these subtitles files would be to go in and turn off everything that I don't want. So just turn off its visibility. And now I'm only looking at the French subtitles on screen. If I wanted to change to a different subtitle now, I would have to go in and turn off the French, and maybe I want to look at the Russian subtitles now. So I'm always having to turn off one subtitle and turn on another. And this is why I came up with a quicker, more organized way of doing this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select all of my subtitles here just by highlighting all of them at once. And then I'm going to go over to my clip menu and I'm going to select Nest. So what this is going to do is take all of those subtitle clips and put them in their own sequence called, let's call it subtitles. And that sequence is now sitting in this sequence, so it's a nested sequence. If I wanted to see what the inside of that sequence looks like, I just need to double click it, and there are all of my subtitles there. Although you'll notice that French is actually on track 2 at the moment, and track 1 is empty. That's where my video track was before. And for the purposes of this technique, it's best to not have any empty video tracks. So what I'm going to do is just go up to my sequence menu, all the way down to the bottom where it says delete tracks, and I'm just going to make sure that it deletes any empty video tracks. So now we have that first subtitle, the French subtitle, starting on video 1, which is good. If I go back into my main edit here, as we saw before, all of these subtitles are just being smushed on top of each other, although I can't actually see that because I still have my visibility turned off. Let's just turn that on now, and there it is, all of the subtitles all at once. And this is the standard behavior for tracks in a sequence. They'll just all be layered on top of each other like a Photoshop file. But there is a way to change this behavior in our sequences, and that's by converting this to a multi-camera sequence. So what is a multi-camera sequence? Well, as the name suggests, it's usually something that you would use for an event that was shot with multiple cameras, and you want to switch between angles as you're editing. But really, essentially, all it is just a normal sequence, but rather than stacking those tracks on top of each other, it will only show me one track at a time. So in order to convert this into a multi-camera sequence, I'm just going to make sure I have the sequence selected in my sequence, and then I'm going to go over to Clip, all the way down to the bottom where it says multi-camera, and I'm going to choose enable. And now I'm only seeing one subtitle, and it's the French subtitle. And I know that this is track 1 because down on the actual name here, you can see it says MC1 or multi-camera 1. And now what I can do is actually use the number keys at the top of my keyboard to switch between tracks. So you may recall that German was on the second track, so if I press 2, I'm now looking at the German subtitles, and that's not just the German subtitle for that moment. That means the entire thing is now in German. If I wanted to see Japanese, well, I know that that was on track 5, so I press 5, and now my entire sequence is in Japanese. So now I no longer have to turn one track off and turn another track on. I can just use those number keys to switch between subtitles. The other cool thing you may have noticed is it's actually telling me what language I'm looking at the moment. If I just zoom in here, you'll see that it's telling me that this is my Japanese subtitle. And that's because with multi-camera clips, it will take the name of the first clip on the track and use that as the name of the multi-camera clip. And if I go back into my subtitle sequence here, you can see I've used the name of the language for the first clip of each track. So that's a handy way to stay organized as well. And that's basically it, just a nice quick way to switch between subtitles in the same edit. Of course, I did this using Premiere Pro titles, but you could do this with any asset. You could do it with Photoshop files, After Effects files, or even caption files inside of Premiere Pro will work. But not only that, this technique isn't just limited to working with subtitles. So another thing that I use this for is sometimes I'll be working on a spot that will need to be delivered to different places, and it will need a different bug on it for all of those deliverables. So rather than having a different sequence for each bug, I'll just have a multi-camera clip with all of those bugs loaded in it, and I'll just number through them based on where I'm exporting them to. It really is a very versatile way of being able to switch between different assets inside of Premiere Pro. The funny thing is I probably use multi-camera sequences almost every day, but I don't actually cut a lot of multi-camera footage. So that's it. I hope some of you have found this helpful. I hope it helped to speed up your workflow in some way. And of course, if you're looking for more tips and tutorials like this, check out my website, thepremierepro.com. Until next time, I'm Paul Murphy, and thanks for watching.